You think you're tired, that you've lost your motivation, that maybe you just don't have the energy anymore. But that's not the truth. You're not running from effort. You're running from what comes after victory. Your mind doesn't fear failure. It fears transformation. Because to win, a part of you has to die. Everything you've been taught about discipline, about motivation, about willpower, is wrong. The problem was never a lack of strength. It was too much fear. Fear of meeting the version of yourself that would finally win. You were never lazy. You were never weak. You were simply exhausted by a mind that never stops fighting you. Since the beginning, your brain was programmed to protect you, not to evolve you. It learned to avoid pain, to stay where things feel predictable. But growth never feels safe. Every time you try to rise, a hidden part of you whispers, "Don't go further." It calls it fatigue. It calls it lack of motivation. But it's not that. It's fear, disguised as logic. When success begins to get close, your mind reacts the same way it would to danger. Your heart beats faster. Your focus starts to scatter. Your thoughts begin to pull you away. You tell yourself, maybe I need a break. Maybe I'm not ready yet. But you were. You were standing right before the threshold of becoming someone new. That's what your mind resists the most. Not failure, but transformation. Because to transform, you must let go of everything that made you who you were. It's not laziness you're feeling. It's the weight of your own evolution, pressing against the limits of who you've been. And your brain is fighting to keep control, to keep you safe, even if that means keeping you small. That's the war you're in. Not against laziness, but against the very structure of your own mind. Every time you try to change, your brain enters a quiet war. One part of you wants to grow, and another wants to stay safe. Inside that tension hides the truth about why you keep running. You see, your brain was never designed for evolution. It was designed for efficiency, for patterns, for safety. Every new habit feels like danger to the oldest part of your mind. The limbic system, ancient, primitive, still believes you live in the wild. It doesn't care about dreams or success. It only cares about survival. So when you start changing your life, when you begin to wake earlier, study harder, or focus longer, your body releases the same chemical alarms it once did when predators were near. That racing heart before you start something important. That sudden desire to rest, to check your phone, to quit just for today. It's not weakness. It's survival instinct, misfiring. Your mind isn't lazy. It's terrified. Terrified that change means danger. And danger means death. Because deep down, evolution is a kind of death. Every time you grow, an older version of you must fade away. And that's the part your brain tries to protect. The familiar you, the predictable you, the version that knows its place in the world. That's why fear appears when progress begins. It's not the fear of failure. It's the fear of transformation. To become something new, you must stop being what you were, and your brain fights that with everything it has. The truth is, discipline hurts because your biology resists it. Consistency feels wrong because it breaks the rhythm of comfort. Your mind keeps asking, why change what's already keeping me alive? So when you procrastinate, when you delay your goals at the edge of success, remember, it's not self-sabotage. It's self-preservation. Misunderstood. Your brain believes it's saving you, but it's only keeping you the same. Think about this. You wake up early. The light is still soft. The world is silent. For a moment, you feel powerful. You tell yourself, today will be different. You make coffee, sit down, open your notebook. There's a pulse of clarity, that rare spark that says, I can do this. And for a few minutes, you really believe it. But then, something small begins to shift. A tiny voice in the back of your head. It sounds gentle, reasonable. You've been working hard lately. Maybe you should rest a little. You can start again tomorrow. You feel that subtle relief, the warmth of permission. You close the notebook. You breathe. And for a second, it feels good. But deep down, you know what you just did. That wasn't rest. That was fear, wearing the mask of kindness. Your mind didn't save you from exhaustion. It saved itself from change. Now picture this. Two people, standing at the edge of discomfort. Both feel the same pressure, the same resistance. One stops. The other continues. The first believes the tension means something is wrong. The second understands. It means something is working. They both feel pain. They both hear the same whisper that says, stop. But one interprets that whisper as a warning, and the other as a test. The difference isn't talent. It isn't motivation. It's awareness. The man who quits believes the discomfort is punishment. The one who endures knows it's the sound of growth. Every artist, every athlete, every disciplined soul you admire has felt that exact moment, the trembling before transformation. The voice that says, what if it's not worth it? What if you fail again? What if you're not enough? But they learn to breathe through that voice, to listen without obeying, to understand that the voice of fear is not an enemy. It's just an echo from the old self. The one who hesitates remains trapped in that echo. The one who steps forward begins to rewrite it. So when you feel that heaviness, before even starting, when your body feels tired from doing nothing, remember, that's not fatigue. That's your system defending the version of you that's afraid to evolve. You pause, you wait, you call it burnout, but it's really hesitation, disguised as logic. And in that small pause, entire dreams have died. The book never written, the project abandoned, the version of you that almost existed. Every time you stop, right before it gets hard, your mind wins another quiet war. But every time you keep moving, even when it burns, you send a new message to your brain. You tell it, we don't die from change. We survive it. We become something new. That's how evolution begins. Not with motivation, not with inspiration, but with quiet disobedience, repeated, day after day. And here's the part that no one ever told you. The reason your mind resists progress is because winning feels like dying. Every time you grow, something inside you has to end. An identity, a belief, a version of you that once kept you safe. You think you want success, but your nervous system is still wired for survival. And survival loves the familiar. It loves the predictable pain more than the uncertain freedom. That's why the closer you get to victory, the louder your fear becomes. Because the mind can't distinguish between danger and transformation. To the primitive brain, both feel the same. You're not lazy. You're protecting yourself from the death of who you used to be. That's why you sabotage yourself right before you succeed. Because at that moment, you're standing at the border between the known and the unknown. And your mind whispers, don't go there. You'll lose control. You'll lose comfort. You'll lose yourself. But what it doesn't understand is that losing yourself is the only way to find who you really are. Think about it. Every major breakthrough you've ever had started with resistance, with chaos, with confusion. You only evolved after something inside you broke, after an illusion collapsed, after you realized that your comfort zone was just a beautifully decorated cage. That's why discipline feels like pain at first. It's not the work that hurts. It's the dying of the weaker self, the self that fed on instant pleasure and feared uncertainty more than regret. And when you begin to outgrow that self, your mind fights back. It calls you tired, unmotivated, hopeless. But it's not true. What you're feeling is the friction of rebirth, the ache of shedding an identity, the trembling before becoming something else. Most people mistake that friction for failure. They retreat. They say, maybe it's not the right time. Maybe I'm not ready. But those who understand stay still inside the storm. They breathe, while everything old begins to fall apart. Because they know the discomfort isn't a signal to stop. It's proof that transformation is happening. You are not breaking down. You are breaking open. Every cell in your body is learning to live without the weight of the person you no longer are. That's why you feel fear when things start to work. That's why you crave distraction when you finally make progress. It's not sabotage. It's mourning. You are grieving the death of the old you. So don't run from that feeling. Don't silence it. Let it echo. Let it shake you. And then, let it go. Because the only version of you that fears growth is the one that cannot survive it. So how do you stop running when your own mind is the thing you're running from? You don't fight it with force. You face it with awareness. Every time that voice tells you to stop, don't argue, observe. Don't suppress, listen. Notice how it speaks. Notice when it appears. It's not random. It's patterned. It comes at the exact moment your comfort begins to die. That awareness alone changes everything, because the moment you see the mechanism, you are no longer controlled by it. You begin to realize your thoughts are not commands. They're signals. They're echoes of an outdated system trying to keep you small. The mistake most people make is trying to feel ready before they act. But readiness never comes, because the act of moving is what creates readiness. Motion precedes clarity. Action creates confidence. Movement rewires the mind. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about repetition. Showing up. Even when the voice tells you not to. Especially when it tells you not to. Because that resistance, that inner gravity trying to pull you back, is not a sign you're weak. It's proof you're leaving orbit. Most people wait for motivation. But motivation is the reward, not the start. The brain releases it. After you act, not before. That means you must move first, without certainty, without comfort, with nothing but the quiet belief that this step matters. You start writing, even when you feel uninspired. You go to the gym, even when you feel nothing. You study, even when your mind screams to stop. And slowly, the brain begins to adapt. It learns that effort isn't fatal. It learns that fear is temporary. It learns that the unknown can be survived. And then, something powerful happens. The same voice that once said, "Stop," begins to whisper, "Again. Just one more. Keep going." That's the moment discipline becomes identity. When doing the hard thing is no longer a punishment, it's who you are. You stop chasing motivation and start embodying momentum. You stop asking, "How do I feel?" and start asking, "What needs to be done?" That's the real freedom. Not escaping the voice, but mastering your response to it. You no longer need the mind to be silent. You just need it to know who's in control. So when the fear rises again, and it will, smile. Recognize it. It's the ghost of the person you've already outgrown. And you don't have to fight ghosts. You just have to keep walking through them. There's a moment when the noise finally fades, when the fight inside you grows quiet, not because you've won, but because you've stopped running. You start to see the truth, that all this time, the enemy was never your weakness. It was your resistance to growth. You thought you needed more motivation, more discipline, more energy. But what you really needed was honesty. To admit that you were scared. Scared to lose control. Scared to outgrow the version of you that everyone else was comfortable with. The truth is, you were never lazy. You were just trying to protect yourself from the unknown. But the unknown is where your real life begins. The version of you that keeps waiting to feel ready will never start. Because readiness is an illusion. The mind invented it to delay pain. What you call fear is just the friction between who you are and who you're becoming. So stop waiting for clarity. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. There isn't one. There never was. You build clarity by stepping into the dark. You build confidence by keeping promises to yourself. You build strength by doing what the weaker version of you avoided. Every step you take in discomfort is a funeral for who you used to be. And that's not tragedy, that's transformation. You don't overcome the mind by force. You transcend it through awareness. You become the observer. You let the fear exist, but you move anyway. And with time, the fear starts to follow you. It learns, it adapts, it realizes you are no longer its prisoner. That's when the world changes. Not because it became easier, but because you did. You begin to act from peace instead of pressure, from purpose instead of panic, from truth instead of fear. That's the moment you stop chasing victory and start living as the person who already won. So the next time your mind whispers, you can rest now. You can skip today. You've done enough. Smile, hear it, and then keep moving. Because freedom doesn't live in the absence of resistance. It lives in the decision to rise while resistance still exists. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to remember this truth. The fear you feel right before the breakthrough is proof that the old version of you is finally dying. Let it die. Let it go. And keep walking. If you want to keep exploring the real mechanisms of the human mind, the ones that few ever see, subscribe and keep descending with me. Down. Into the quiet places where change really begins. The silence. After the storm. That's where the real transformation hides. Not in the noise of effort, but in the quiet that follows it. You've spent years trying to fix yourself, when all you ever needed was to understand yourself. Every failure, every hesitation, every pause you called weakness was never a step backward. It was preparation. Your mind wasn't trying to destroy you. It was trying to protect you from becoming something it didn't yet understand. But now, you do. You see that resistance for what it is, a doorway, and the pain you feel while crossing it is the sound of your old self, letting go. So don't rush this silence. Stay in it. Listen to it. Because silence is not the absence of progress. It's the space where progress breathes. Let it die. Let it go, and keep walking. This is where the noise ends, and awareness begins. This is silence, storm.